The morning sun rose over the golden wheat fields of New Eden like it had for the past 70 years. Sarah Martinez walked through the tall grass, checking the grain heads that would be ready for harvest in just 2 weeks. The crops looked perfect this season. Her grandfather would have been proud. New Eden was not a big planet, but it was home to 50,000 humans who had made something beautiful from nothing. When the first settlers arrived 3 generations ago, they found only red dirt and rocks. Now there were green fields as far as the eye could see, small towns with tree-lined streets, and children playing in parks their great-grandparents had planted. Sarah's communication device buzzed. It was her brother Tom calling from the main town. "The aliens from Zerion Prime want to buy another 1,000 tons of our corn," he said, sounding happy. "They say our food tastes better than anything they can grow." Sarah smiled. The people of New Eden had good relationships with their alien neighbors. They traded food for technology and rare metals. Everyone was happy with the deals. The planet had only basic defenses, just enough to keep away pirates who sometimes tried to steal cargo ships. In the orbital station above New Eden, Captain Williams watched his screens. He commanded the planet's small defense fleet, 3 light cruisers and a few patrol boats. Nothing fancy, but enough for their peaceful corner of space. His biggest worry was usually drunk cargo pilots who flew too close to the station. Williams did not know that 3 star systems away, Admiral Korek of the Korthak hegemony was looking at a holographic map of human colonies. The reptilian alien pointed at New Eden with one of his clawed fingers. "This one," Korek said to his officers. "The humans think they can just take any planet they want. We will show them what happens when they try to expand into our territory." The Korthak were not nice aliens. They had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved many species. They believed that only the strong deserved to control star systems. When they saw humans peacefully growing food and trading with other aliens, they saw weakness. "Sir," said one of Korek's officers, "our intelligence says the humans have minimal defenses. This will be easy." "Good," Korek replied. "We will make New Eden an example. When other human colonies see what we do there, they will think twice before settling in our region of space." What the Korthak did not know was something very important about humans. Every human colony, no matter how small or far away, had a quantum communication link directly to Earth. These links could not be blocked or stopped. When something happened to a human colony, Earth knew about it immediately. Back on New Eden, Sarah was walking home when she saw something strange in the sky. Bright flashes of light appeared near the orbital station. At first, she thought it might be a meteor shower. Then her communication device started screaming emergency alerts. "All civilians, this is Captain Williams. We are under attack. Get to the emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill." Sarah ran toward the town center where the underground shelters were built. Around her, other colonists were doing the same thing. Parents carried small children. Elderly people helped each other walk faster. No one understood what was happening. Above them, Captain Williams watched in horror as massive alien ships appeared from hyperspace. They were huge, 10 times bigger than his largest cruiser. He counted 12 of them, all carrying the symbols of the Korthak hegemony. "Unknown vessels. This is New Eden Defense Force," Williams broadcast. "You are in human space. Please state your intentions." The response came quickly. "Human colony will surrender immediately. Your defenses will stand down. Any resistance will result in total destruction." Williams looked at his small fleet. 3 cruisers against 12 dreadnoughts. He knew they could not win a fight, but he also knew his duty. These aliens were threatening 50,000 innocent people. "Negative," Williams replied. "New Eden is under the protection of Earth. Leave now or face the consequences." Admiral Korek laughed when he heard this message. "Consequences from these weak humans? Begin the bombardment." The Korthak ships opened fire. Williams's cruisers fought back with everything they had, but it was hopeless. Within 10 minutes, all 3 human ships were destroyed. Williams managed to get one last message to the planet's surface before his ship exploded. "Emergency beacon is active. Earth will know. Remember us." On the planet below, the ground shook as energy beams from orbit hit the major cities. Sarah and hundreds of other colonists huddled in the emergency shelter, listening to the terrible sounds above them. The building shook again and again. An old man named Peterson, who had helped build New Eden, held his granddaughter close. "Don't worry, little one," he whispered. "Earth will come for us. They always protect their own." But Peterson was wrong about one thing. Earth would come, but not to rescue them. It would be too late for New Eden. The bombardment continued for 6 hours. The Korthak ships took their time, making sure to destroy everything. Farms, cities, roads, power plants, nothing was left standing. When they were finished, New Eden looked like the dead rock it had been before humans arrived. Admiral Korek looked at the destruction with satisfaction. "Any human colonies in the area will see this and know to stay away from Korthak space," he told his officers. "Send word to the Hegemony Council. The human problem in this sector is solved." But something had happened during those 6 hours that Admiral Korek did not know about. In the first few seconds of the attack, before the orbital station was destroyed, an automated system had activated. It was called the Emergency Colonial Beacon, and every human colony had one. The beacon sent a complete data package to Earth through the quantum link. Ship positions, energy signatures, attack patterns, and most importantly, the military symbols that identified the attackers as Korthak forces. The message took exactly 17 seconds to transmit before the station was destroyed. 17 seconds that would change everything. On Earth, deep in the emergency colonial defense bunker in Geneva, alarms began to sound. Admiral Sarah Chen was woken from sleep by her aide. "Ma'am, we have a code red from New Eden. Total colony loss." Admiral Chen had hoped never to hear those words. She dressed quickly and walked to the command center, where technicians were already analyzing the data from New Eden's final transmission. "Status report," she ordered. "New Eden is gone, Admiral. 50,000 dead. The attackers have been identified as Korthak hegemony forces. 12 dreadnoughts, deliberate targeting of civilian areas." Admiral Chen stared at the tactical display for a long moment. In her 30 years of service, she had never seen a complete colony destruction. Pirates might raid a settlement, alien governments might have border disputes, but no one had ever simply erased an entire human world. "Contact the Emergency Colonial Defense Council," she said quietly. "Tell them we need an immediate session. Priority Alpha." As the Admiral walked to prepare her briefing, she thought about the children who had been playing in New Eden's parks just hours ago. She thought about farmers like Sarah Martinez, who had spent their lives growing food to feed both humans and aliens. And she thought about what Earth was going to do about it. The Korthak hegemony had just made the biggest mistake in their species' history. They had attacked humanity thinking they were weak. They were about to learn that Earth's peaceful nature was a choice, not a limitation. The message was already spreading through the quantum network. From colony to colony, from Earth to the furthest human outposts, the same words were being whispered. New Eden is gone. All of them. Every man, woman, and child. Soon, those whispers would become a roar that would shake the galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the Emergency Colonial Defense Council in the secure bunker deep beneath Geneva. Around the circular table sat 12 of the most powerful people on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, and military leaders who controlled humanity's destiny among the stars. The holographic display in the center of the room showed the final moments of New Eden. The assembled leaders watched in silence as the Korthak ships methodically destroyed everything on the planet. When the display ended, no one spoke for a long time. President Morrison of the North American Federation was the first to break the silence. How certain are we about the identity of the attackers? 100%, Admiral Chen replied. Our computers analyzed the ship designs, energy signatures, and military symbols. These were official Korthak hegemony forces, not pirates or rogue elements. This was a deliberate attack ordered by their government. Chancellor Weber from the European coalition leaned forward. What do we know about the Korthak military capability? Chen activated another display. According to our intelligence, the Korthak hegemony controls 15 star systems. They have approximately 800 warships of various classes and a population of 12 billion. They are considered a mid-level power in this region of the galaxy. Prime Minister Nakamura from the Pacific Alliance asked the question everyone was thinking. Admiral, can we defeat them? Sarah Chen had been waiting for this moment her entire career. For 200 years, humanity had followed a policy called measured response. When attacked, they defended themselves, but never escalated to total warfare. They had been careful to appear peaceful and non-threatening to their alien neighbors. Distinguished leaders, Chen said slowly, the Korthak have made a fundamental error in judgment. They attacked us because they believe humans are weak. They think our peaceful expansion and trade relationships indicate that we cannot fight. She paused and looked around the table. They are wrong. Earth has capabilities that no alien species knows about. We have been building and preparing for exactly this kind of scenario for decades. Director Hassan from the African Federation asked, What kind of capabilities? Chen smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. The kind that can erase the Korthak hegemony from existence. The room fell silent again. These leaders had all believed that humanity's military power was limited to the patrol ships and light cruisers they showed to alien governments. They were about to learn how wrong they had been. Explain, ordered President Morrison. Chen activated a new set of displays. What the council members saw made them gasp. Ship designs they had never seen before. Weapon systems that seemed impossible. Manufacturing facilities hidden throughout the solar system. For the past 70 years, Chen explained, Earth has been secretly building a true war fleet. Every research station around Jupiter is actually a military shipyard. Every mining facility in the asteroid belt is producing weapons and armor. Every civilian freighter has hidden military systems that can be activated in hours. Chancellor Weber stared at the display showing massive ships under construction. How many vessels are we talking about? Currently operational and ready for immediate deployment. 10,000 ships. Within 1 week, we can have 20,000. Within 1 month, 50,000. The numbers were staggering. Every alien government in known space believed that humanity had maybe 500 military vessels total. The truth was that Earth could deploy a larger fleet than any known civilization. Why was this kept secret from us? Demanded Prime Minister Singh from the Indian consortium. Because, Chen replied, the moment other species learn about our true military capacity, the balance of power in the galaxy changes forever. We wanted to maintain the option of peaceful coexistence. The Korthak have just removed that option. Admiral Chen activated one more display. It showed a single ship that dwarfed everything else in the presentation. The vessel was enormous, easily the size of a small city. This is the TNS Prometheus, Chen said. Officially, it's listed as a deep space exploration vessel. In reality, it's the most powerful warship ever constructed by any species in known space. It has been my flagship for the past 5 years, disguised as a research platform. President Morrison studied the technical specifications. The ship's capabilities seemed almost magical. What are you recommending, Admiral? Chen turned off the displays and faced the council members directly. The Korthak killed 50,000 innocent civilians. They targeted farmers, children, elderly people who had never hurt anyone. This was not a military strike or a territorial dispute. This was genocide. She paused to let that word sink in. I recommend that we demonstrate to every species in the galaxy what happens when humans are pushed too far. I recommend total war against the Korthak hegemony." "Total war?" asked Chancellor Weber. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means," Chen replied coldly, "that when we are finished, there will be no Korthak hegemony, no Korthak military, no Korthak colonies. They wanted to make New Eden an example. We will make them an example instead." Director Hassan looked troubled. "Admiral, you're talking about the destruction of an entire civilization, 12 billion people." "Yes," Chen replied without hesitation, "just like they destroyed 50,000 of our people. The difference is that our people were innocent farmers and families. The Korthak are a military dictatorship that has enslaved dozens of species and conquered their neighbors for centuries." Prime Minister Nakamura raised a concern. "What about the other alien governments? How will they react when they see what we're capable of?" Chen smiled again, and this time it was genuinely pleased. "They will understand that humanity is not to be attacked under any circumstances. They will realize that our peaceful nature is a choice we make, not a weakness they can exploit, and they will treat us with the respect that our power deserves." The council members looked at each other. This was the most important decision in human history. They were being asked to abandon 2 centuries of careful, peaceful expansion and reveal themselves as the apex predator species they had always been. President Morrison called for a vote. "All in favor of authorizing Admiral Chen to proceed with total warfare against the Korthak hegemony?" One by one, the hands went up. The vote was unanimous. "Admiral," President Morrison said formally, "you are hereby authorized to use any and all resources of Earth and her colonies to destroy the Korthak threat. There are no restrictions on your methods or weapons. You have complete authority to act as you see fit." Chen saluted. "Thank you, distinguished leaders. I will not disappoint you or the memory of New Eden." As the council members filed out, Chen was already planning her next moves. Within hours, secret signals would go out across the solar system. Hidden shipyards would begin final preparations. Manufacturing centers that had been making civilian goods would switch to military production. Most importantly, Admiral Chen would take personal command of the fleet. She had been born on a colony world herself, and she understood what it meant to be so far from Earth that only other colonists truly cared about your safety. The Korthak had killed her people, and she was going to make them pay for every single life. In the Korthak home system, Admiral Korek was celebrating his successful mission. He had no idea that his attack on New Eden had just signed the death warrant for his entire species. He thought he had destroyed a weak human settlement. What he had actually done was wake up something that the galaxy had never seen before. Earth's war machine was about to be unleashed for the first time in human history, and when it was finished, every alien species in known space would understand exactly why humans had chosen to be peaceful for so long. It was not because they could not fight. It was because when they did fight, nothing survived. 72 hours after the Emergency Colonial Defense Council gave Admiral Chen full authority, the Sol system transformed into something no alien observer would have recognized. What had appeared to be a peaceful star system with normal civilian traffic suddenly revealed itself as the most militarized space in the known galaxy. In the asteroid belt, mining stations that had been operating for decades suddenly opened hidden doors in their rock faces. Massive ships emerged from inside the hollowed-out asteroids like metal whales rising from an ancient sea. These were not the small patrol cruisers that alien diplomats had seen visiting their worlds. These were warships designed for one purpose: to end civilizations. Captain Rodriguez commanded the heavy cruiser Buenos Aires as it undocked from Mining Station 7. To any casual observer, his ship looked like it had been carved from the asteroid itself. The hull was covered in stealth plating that could make it invisible to most sensors. Weapon ports were hidden behind panels that looked like mining equipment. "All systems green, Admiral," Rodriguez reported to Admiral Chen aboard the Prometheus. "Buenos Aires is ready for combat operations." Across the asteroid belt, similar reports were coming in from hundreds of other ships. The Madrid, the Tokyo, the Lagos, the Vancouver, cities from Earth lending their names to weapons of war that had been built in absolute secrecy. Near Jupiter, the gas giant's moons revealed their own secrets. What alien visitors had been told were research stations studying the planet's atmosphere were actually the largest shipyards in human space. Europa alone was home to 30 hidden dry docks, each one capable of building ships larger than anything in known alien fleets. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching the fleet assemble around her flagship. The ship itself was a masterpiece of human engineering and deception. For 5 years, it had traveled to various star systems, disguised as a deep space research vessel. Alien scientists had even been invited aboard for tours of its scientific facilities. They had never been allowed into the ship's true heart. Hidden beneath the research labs and living quarters were weapon systems that violated several known laws of physics. The Prometheus carried enough firepower to destroy entire planets, and it was just one ship in a fleet of thousands. "Admiral," called her communications officer, "we're receiving the final ship counts from all staging areas." Chen nodded. "Let me hear them." Asteroid belt facilities report 4,200 ships ready for immediate deployment. Jupiter moon shipyards report 3,800 vessels. Saturn ring stations report 1,500. Mars orbital platforms report 600. Earth orbital shipyards report 400. The officer paused, checking his numbers again. Total fleet strength, 10,500 ships, all fully armed and provisioned for extended combat operations. Chen smiled with satisfaction. The number was actually higher than she had hoped. The secret shipyards had been busy during the years of peace, but the ships were only part of the story. Each vessel carried weapons and technology that had been developed in complete secrecy. Particle beams that could slice through any known armor. Gravity weapons that could crush ships into microscopic points. Missiles that could track their targets across multiple star systems. "What's the status of our special projects?" Chen asked. Her science officer, Dr. Kim, consulted his tablet. "Project Medusa is fully operational. We have 12 ships equipped with the new reality displacement weapons. Project Thor reports that kinetic bombardment systems are ready on all heavy cruisers. And Project Nightmare..." Dr. Kim paused, looking uncomfortable. "Admiral, I have to ask one more time. Are you sure you want to authorize Nightmare protocols?" Chen's expression grew cold. "Doctor, the Korthak killed 50,000 civilians, including children. They targeted hospitals and schools. They bombed refugee shelters. Yes, I am authorizing Nightmare protocols. Project Nightmare was something that had been developed in the deepest levels of Earth's military research facilities. It was a weapon that could do things to enemy planets that had never been done before in galactic warfare. Dr. Kim had hoped it would never be used. Around the fleet, smaller support vessels were also revealing their true nature. Cargo ships that had been carrying grain and manufactured goods to alien worlds suddenly sprouted hidden weapon arrays. The freighter Peaceful Trader, which had visited 40 different alien ports in the past year, was now bristling with missile launchers and beam weapons. Even more surprising were the civilian volunteers. Thousands of cargo pilots, merchant captains, and transport crews had answered Admiral Chen's call. Their ships might not have been military vessels, but every human ship built in the past century had hidden military capabilities. With a few hours of retrofit work, a grain hauler could become a missile platform. Captain Sarah Kim of the merchant vessel Golden Harvest was one of these volunteers. She had been delivering food supplies to a colony near Centauri when the call came in. Within 6 hours, Her cargo ship had been fitted with military-grade shields, weapons, and targeting systems. "I've been trading with aliens for 15 years, she told her crew as they prepared to join the fleet. "I've seen how they look at us. Like we're soft, like we're weak. Time to show them how wrong they are." The transformation was not just military. Across human space, every colony, every station, every outpost was shifting into what Admiral Chen called total war mode. Factories that made farming equipment were now producing ammunition. Shipyards that built civilian transports were constructing military support vessels. On Mars, the massive terraforming processors were being retooled to produce something else entirely. Instead of atmospheric processors, they were now manufacturing the components for weapons that could unmake planets. The Martian colonists worked around the clock, knowing that their efforts would help avenge New Eden. Admiral Chen received regular updates from across human space. Luna Base reports that all mass drivers are now configured for military projectiles. Titan Station has completed modifications to their industrial foundries. Alpha Centauri shipyards are sending 200 additional vessels. But perhaps the most impressive sight was the Prometheus itself. As the flagship of Earth's war fleet, it had been designed to be both a command vessel and a symbol of human power. When its full military configuration was activated, the ship grew from impressive to terrifying. Hidden armor plates slid out from the hull, doubling the ship's size. Weapon ports opened along every surface. The research pods that alien scientists had toured were revealed to be launch bays for fighters and bombers. Most impressive of all, the ship's central scientific instrument array unfolded into the largest particle beam weapon ever constructed. "Admiral," reported her tactical officer, "all ships report ready for jump to Korthak space. Fleet formation is complete." Chen looked at the tactical display showing 10,000 human warships arranged in perfect formation around her flagship. It was the largest military force ever assembled by any species in known galactic history. And unlike the fleets of other civilizations, every single ship was equipped with the most advanced technology human science could produce. "What's our estimated travel time to the Korthak home system?" she asked. "Using standard jump drives, approximately 18 hours, her navigator replied. "However, if we use the new quantum tunnel technology..." "How long?" 4 hours, Admiral. But using quantum tunneling will announce our arrival to every sensor in the galaxy. There's no way to mask that kind of energy signature." Chen considered this. The quantum tunnel drives were another secret technology that aliens had no idea existed. Using them would reveal yet another human capability, but it would also allow them to arrive at Korthak space before the enemy could prepare proper defenses. "We use the quantum tunnels," she decided. "I want the Korthak to know we're coming. I want them to have time to assemble their entire fleet in one place." Her officers exchanged glances. Most military commanders tried to achieve surprise in their attacks. Admiral Chen was deliberately giving up the element of surprise. "Admiral," asked her tactical officer carefully, "are you sure that's wise? Intelligence reports that the Korthak can assemble up to 800 ships to defend their home system." Chen's smile was cold and predatory. "Commander, we could take 800 Korthak ships with just the Prometheus alone. I want their entire fleet in one place so we can destroy their military power completely in a single battle. When we're finished, I want every other alien government to know exactly what happens when humans are attacked." The final preparations took another 12 hours. Supply ships loaded ammunition and provisions. Medical vessels prepared for casualties, though Admiral Chen didn't expect many human losses. Intelligence ships departed early to scout enemy positions and jam their communications. Finally, the moment arrived. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, looking out at the largest war fleet in galactic history. 10,000 human ships, armed with weapons that alien scientists thought were impossible, crewed by people who had just learned that 50,000 of their fellow humans had been murdered by aliens who thought they were weak. "All ships," Chen broadcast to the fleet. "This is Admiral Chen. Today we depart for Korthak space to deliver justice for New Eden. Remember what we fight for. Remember who we fight for. Remember that every alien government in the galaxy is watching to see what humanity does when its people are threatened." She paused, thinking of Sarah Martinez and all the other colonists who had died on New Eden. "Engage quantum tunnel drives. All ships jump to Korthak space. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." The space around the human fleet began to twist and bend as the quantum tunnel drives activated. One by one, the ships disappeared into holes in space-time itself. The Prometheus was the last to go, its massive bulk vanishing into a tunnel of pure energy. Behind them, the Sol system returned to its apparent peacefulness. But now it was the calm of a predator's lair after the hunt had begun. The galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before: humanity at war. The Korthak home system had never seen so many ships in one place. When Admiral Korek received reports of incoming human vessels, he had assembled every warship the hegemony could muster. 812 ships formed a massive defensive line around their homeworld of Korthak Prime. "These humans are fools," Korek told his assembled captains over the fleet communication channel. "They think they can challenge the might of the hegemony with their weak patrol boats. We will destroy them just like we destroyed their pathetic colony." Korek felt confident. His intelligence reports said that humans had perhaps 500 military vessels total. Even if every single human ship had come to attack him, he still had numerical superiority. And Korthak ships were designed for war, not the peaceful exploration that humans seemed to prefer. The first sign that something was wrong came from his sensor operators. "Admiral," reported the technician on the flagship, "we're detecting massive quantum distortions approaching the system. Energy readings are unlike anything in our databases." "How many ships?" Korek demanded. The sensor operator rechecked his instruments. "Sir, the readings don't make sense. Either our equipment is malfunctioning or there are thousands of vessels incoming." Before Korek could respond, space itself began to tear open at the edge of his system. Holes of pure energy appeared, and from them emerged ships that made the Korthak fleet look like toys. The human vessels were not just numerous, they were enormous. Many of them were larger than anything the Korthak had ever built. "Count!" Korek shouted at his sensor station. "How many ships?" The technician's voice was shaking. "Admiral, I count over 10,000 vessels. Repeat, over 10,000 human warships." The bridge of Korek's flagship fell silent. 10,000 ships was more than the entire Korthak military had ever built in their 1,000-year history. How had the humans hidden such a massive fleet? At the center of the human formation was a ship that defied comprehension. The Prometheus was so large that it registered on sensors as an artificial moon. Its hull bristled with weapon systems that the Korthak computers could not identify. Energy readings from the human flagship suggested it had more power than their entire home defense fleet combined. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, studying the Korthak defensive formation. "Analysis," she ordered. 812 enemy vessels, reported her tactical officer. "Standard Korthak designs. Heavy armor, plasma-based weapons, conventional missile systems. Their largest ships are approximately 1/10 the size of the Prometheus." Chen nodded. "Estimated time to destroy their entire fleet?" Her weapons officer checked his calculations. "Admiral, using conventional tactics and our current weapon loadout, approximately 18 minutes. If we use quantum cascade weapons, approximately 3 minutes. If we activate the nightmare protocols..." "How long?" "Instantaneous, Admiral. Complete fleet destruction in under 30 seconds. Chen considered her options. She wanted the Korthak to understand what they faced before they died. More importantly, She wanted every other alien government monitoring the battle to see exactly what human military technology could do. "We'll use conventional weapons for the first phase," she decided. "Let them see how outmatched they are with ordinary human technology. Then we'll escalate." The first shot of the battle came from the Korthak fleet. Admiral Korek, desperate to regain some sense of control, ordered his ships to open fire while the humans were still forming up. Thousands of plasma bolts and missiles streaked across space toward the human fleet. The attack was completely ineffective. The human ship's defensive systems engaged automatically. Energy shields that the Korthak had never seen before absorbed the plasma bolts harmlessly. Point defense lasers destroyed incoming missiles with perfect accuracy. Not a single human ship was even scratched by the opening barrage. "Return fire," Admiral Chen ordered calmly. "Show them what real weapons look like." The response was devastating. Human particle beam weapons sliced through Korthak armor like paper. Gravity missiles crushed enemy ships into metal balls before they could even react. Kinetic projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed simply vaporized anything they hit. In the first 30 seconds of human retaliation, over 100 Korthak ships were destroyed. The aliens had never experienced weapons technology so far beyond their own capabilities. Their heaviest armor could not stop human beam weapons. Their fastest ships could not outrun human missiles. Admiral Korek watched in horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled. "All ships, fall back to defensive positions around the planet. Use the orbital stations for cover." But the human fleet was not interested in a prolonged battle. Admiral Chen had decided to demonstrate something that would be remembered across the galaxy for centuries. She activated the Prometheus's primary weapon system. "Firing main particle array," announced her weapons officer. The beam that emerged from the Prometheus was not like anything seen in galactic warfare before. It was a coherent stream of energy that could cut through planets if necessary. When it struck the Korthak flagship, the massive alien vessel simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next moment there was only empty space and a cloud of rapidly expanding atoms. "Admiral Korek's ship has been destroyed," reported human intelligence officers monitoring Korthak communications. "Their fleet command structure is collapsing." Chen watched as panic spread through the enemy fleet. Without their commanding admiral, individual Korthak captains began making desperate decisions. Some tried to flee the system. Others attempted suicide runs against human ships. A few simply stopped moving, their crews apparently paralyzed by fear. "Phase 2, Chen ordered. "Target their orbital defenses." The space around Korthak Prime was heavily fortified with weapons platforms, shield generators, and missile batteries. The aliens had spent decades building these defenses, believing they could protect their homeworld from any attack. They lasted exactly 4 minutes against human firepower. Chen had ordered her fleet to use different types of weapons on different targets, creating a demonstration of human technological superiority. Gravity bombs collapsed shield generators into singularities. Reality displacement weapons made entire stations simply vanish from existence. Quantum torpedoes phased through armor as if it wasn't there before exploding inside their targets. "Admiral," reported her communications officer, "we're receiving surrender signals from several Korthak ships." "Denied," Chen replied without hesitation. "They showed no mercy to the civilians on New Eden. They will receive no mercy from us." The slaughter continued. Human fighters swarmed around damaged Korthak vessels, their weapons precise enough to target individual crew members through their ships' hulls. Bomber squadrons delivered payloads that could crack planets. Support vessels used their mining lasers to slice enemy ships into pieces. Within 15 minutes, the entire Korthak home fleet had been destroyed. Not disabled, not defeated, utterly annihilated. 800 ships and over 2 million alien crew members had been reduced to glowing debris orbiting their homeworld. But Admiral Chen was not finished. The Battle of New Eden had been more than a military attack. It had been genocide against human civilians. Her response would be proportional. "Begin bombardment of military targets on the planet's surface," she ordered. The weapons that struck Korthak Prime were beyond anything the aliens had imagined possible. Kinetic projectiles moving at relativistic speeds struck military bases with the force of nuclear weapons. Particle beams from orbit melted entire cities. Gravity weapons created localized earthquakes that collapsed underground bunkers. "Admiral," called her science officer, "we're detecting massive civilian populations in several cities. Millions of non-combatants." Chen's expression remained cold. "Continue bombardment of military and industrial targets only. We're not like them. We don't target civilians deliberately. But every military base, every weapons factory, every government building is a legitimate target." The bombardment continued for 6 hours. When it was finished, the Korthak hegemony's homeworld had been reduced to a pre-industrial civilization. Their space fleet was gone. Their orbital defenses were destroyed. Their military and industrial infrastructure had been completely eliminated. But Chen still had more to demonstrate. Throughout Korthak space, there were 11 other worlds with significant military installations. Each one had supported the attack on New Eden. Each one would pay the price. "Fleet commanders," she broadcast to her ships, "divide into task forces. Each task force will proceed to one of the remaining Korthak military worlds. Use the same protocols. Complete destruction of all military and industrial targets. Leave the civilian populations alive but helpless." The human fleet scattered across Korthak space like a pack of wolves. At each world, the story was the same. Korthak defenders tried to fight back but were overwhelmed in minutes. Orbital defenses were swept away. Military installations were vaporized from space. On the world of Korthak Secundus, the local defense fleet managed to last almost an hour against the human task force. The aliens fought bravely, using ramming attacks and suicide runs when their weapons proved ineffective. It made no difference. Human technology was so far advanced that courage and determination were meaningless. By the end of the day, the Korthak hegemony no longer existed as a military power. 12 worlds had been reduced to helpless agricultural societies. Their space fleet was completely destroyed. Their government and military leadership were all dead. Admiral Chen received reports from all task forces. "Admiral, all objectives completed. Korthak military capability has been eliminated. Estimated time for recovery, approximately 200 years, assuming they can even rebuild their industrial base." Chen nodded with satisfaction. "Signal all ships to return to home base. Mission accomplished." As the human fleet prepared to leave Korthak space, Chen activated a final communication system. She wanted to make sure that every government in the galaxy received her message clearly. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Fleet," she broadcast on all known diplomatic frequencies. "The Korthak hegemony attacked and destroyed the human colony of New Eden, killing 50,000 innocent civilians. Today, we have delivered justice for that crime." She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the remains of what had once been a major galactic power. "Let this serve as a warning to all species. Humanity desires peace and friendship with our galactic neighbors. We will trade fairly, share technology, and respect your sovereignty. But if you attack our colonies, if you harm our people, if you mistake our peaceful nature for weakness, this is what awaits you." The message was received across the galaxy within hours. In the Senate of the Galactic Federation, alien representatives sat in stunned silence as they reviewed the battle recordings. A mid-level power had been erased from existence in less than 1 day by ships that had appeared from nowhere. Everyone realized the same thing. Humanity had been hiding their true capabilities for centuries. The peaceful traders and explorers that other species had grown accustomed to were actually the most dangerous predators in known space. The balance of galactic power had just shifted forever. 3 months after the destruction of the Korthak hegemony, the Galactic Federation called an emergency session. Representatives from over 200 species gathered on the neutral station of Harmony Point to discuss what everyone was calling the human problem. Ambassador Takara of the Zolonian Republic stood before the assembly and spoke the words that everyone was thinking but had been afraid to say. "We have been living next to apex predators for 2 centuries, and we never knew it." The recordings of the Battle of New Eden had spread across every civilized world in the galaxy. Military analysts from dozens of species had studied the footage, trying to understand how humanity had hidden such overwhelming technological superiority. The conclusions were always the same. Humans had been capable of conquering the galaxy for generations. They had simply chosen not to. On Earth, Admiral Chen received daily reports of diplomatic developments. Every major government had requested immediate meetings with human ambassadors. Trade negotiations that had been stalled for years were suddenly being resolved in humanity's favor. Border disputes were being settled, with human colonies always getting the better deal. "Admiral," reported her intelligence chief, "we're seeing unprecedented changes in alien behavior toward human settlements. The Rigelian Consortium has offered to provide free defense services for all human colonies in their region. The Andromedan Alliance wants to establish formal military cooperation agreements." Chen smiled. "And what about species that were previously hostile or indifferent to us?" "Complete reversal, ma'am. The Centaurian Empire, which had been blocking human expansion into the Vega sector for 50 years, has now formally invited us to establish colonies there. The Siriusian Trade Federation has offered us exclusive trading rights that they've never given to anyone else." The transformation was remarkable. Species that had previously viewed humans as useful but unremarkable neighbors now treated them with the respect reserved for galactic superpowers. Diplomatic messages that once took weeks to receive replies now were answered within hours. But the most dramatic changes were happening in former Korthak space. The 12 worlds that had been reduced to pre-industrial levels were struggling to survive. Without their military and industrial infrastructure, they could not maintain their technology or feed their populations. President Morrison called Admiral Chen to his office in Geneva. "Sarah, we need to talk about the former Korthak worlds. The refugee crisis is getting worse." Chen had been expecting this conversation. "What's the current situation?" "Billions of people without adequate food, medicine, or technology. Their birth rate has crashed because they can't support their existing population. Some estimates suggest that without assistance, they could lose half their population within 10 years. Morrison showed her images from Korthak Prime. Cities that had once housed millions were now abandoned ruins. The survivors lived in small farming communities, trying to grow enough food to stay alive. They had been reduced from an interstellar empire to a medieval agricultural society in the span of a single day. "What are you suggesting?" Chen asked. "Humanitarian aid, food shipments, medical supplies, basic technology to help them rebuild. We've gotten formal requests from the surviving Korthak leadership." Chen considered this carefully. The Korthak had murdered 50,000 human civilians without provocation. They had targeted schools, hospitals, and shelters full of innocent people. Many humans believed they deserved whatever suffering they now endured. But Chen also understood something important about galactic politics. How humanity treated the defeated Korthak would be observed by every other species. It would set the precedent for how Earth dealt with its enemies. "What kind of aid are they requesting?" she asked. Morrison handed her a data pad with the details. "Basic food supplies, medical equipment, and technical advisors to help them rebuild their agricultural systems. They're not asking for military technology or industrial equipment, just enough to keep their people from starving." Chen read through the requests. The Korthak were asking for the minimum necessary to survive, not to rebuild their empire. They had learned their lesson about challenging humanity. Approved, she decided, but with conditions. First, they must formally apologize for the attack on New Eden and pay reparations to the families of the victims. Second, They must agree to a permanent peace treaty with humanity. Third, they accept human oversight of their government for the next 50 years. Morrison raised an eyebrow. 50 years of oversight, that's essentially making them a human protectorate. Exactly, Chen replied. They attacked us because they saw us as weak. Now they'll serve as an example to the galaxy of what happens when you misjudge humanity. But they'll also be an example of human mercy toward defeated enemies. The aid program began within weeks. Human cargo ships arrived at Korthak Prime, carrying millions of tons of food supplies and medical equipment. Human engineers helped the aliens rebuild their power grids and water treatment facilities. Human doctors provided medical training to help them deal with disease outbreaks. But the aid came with a very visible human presence. Earth established orbital stations above each former Korthak world. Officially, these stations coordinated humanitarian efforts. Unofficially, they served as reminders that humanity was watching and could destroy these worlds again if necessary. The psychological effect was profound. Every day, the surviving Korthak could look up at the sky and see human ships that could vaporize their entire planet if they chose to. It was a constant reminder of the price of challenging Earth. Ambassador Maria Santos was assigned as the chief human representative to the former Korthak government. She met with the surviving Korthak leadership in what had once been their capital city and was now a collection of small towns. "We want you to understand something," she told the alien leaders. "Earth could have exterminated your entire species. We had the weapons and the legal justification after what you did to New Eden. But we chose mercy instead." The Korthak leader, an elderly female named Skatar, bowed her head in understanding. "We have learned the cost of our arrogance, Ambassador. Our people will remember this lesson for 1,000 generations." "Good," Santos replied, "because the galaxy is watching how this plays out. Every species is deciding whether they want to be humanity's friend or enemy, based on what they see happening here." The former Korthak worlds became something unprecedented in galactic history, a demonstration of both human power and human mercy. Other species could see that humanity was capable of genocide but chose rehabilitation instead. It was a message that resonated throughout civilized space. Meanwhile, Admiral Chen had another project. At the coordinates where New Eden had once orbited its star, she ordered the construction of a memorial station. The facility would serve as both a monument to the 50,000 dead colonists and a warning to anyone who might consider attacking humans in the future. The New Eden Memorial was built using the most advanced technology humanity possessed. It was beautiful and impressive, but also clearly a military installation. Defensive systems could protect it from any conceivable attack. Sensor arrays could monitor activity across dozens of star systems. Most importantly, it broadcast a simple message on all frequencies, 24 hours a day. Here stood the colony of New Eden. 50,000 humans lived here peacefully until they were murdered by those who mistook kindness for weakness. They are remembered. They are avenged. They are honored. The message was followed by the names of every colonist who had died, read aloud in a continuous cycle that took 18 hours to complete. Sarah Martinez, Tom Martinez, Captain Williams, Peterson, and his granddaughter. All of them were named and remembered. But perhaps the most important part of the memorial was its location. Ships traveling through the region had to pass close to the station, and when they did, they received additional data about the Battle of New Eden. Complete recordings of the Korthak attack, followed by complete recordings of Earth's retaliation. The message was clear. This is what happens when you attack humanity. Admiral Chen visited the memorial on the first anniversary of New Eden's destruction. She stood in the observation deck, looking out at the space where 50,000 people had once lived and worked and raised their children. "Admiral," said Captain Rodriguez, who had accompanied her, "the galactic situation reports are in. Every major government has now signed formal peace treaties with Earth. Several species have requested military cooperation agreements. 3 governments have asked to become human protectorates. Chen nodded. And the former Korthak worlds? Stable and peaceful. Their agricultural output is increasing. Population decline has stopped. They're grateful for human assistance and show no signs of wanting to rebuild their military. Any new threats to human colonies? None, ma'am. In fact, piracy in human space has dropped to 0. No one wants to risk even accidentally attacking a human ship. Chen smiled. It had taken the destruction of an entire alien empire, but humanity had finally achieved what they had always wanted: true security for their people among the stars. A year later, the first new human colony was established. It was built in what had once been Korthak space, on a world they had previously claimed but never settled. The colonists named it Hope's End, and they built it with defenses that could withstand anything short of a full-scale fleet assault. But more importantly, the colony was protected by something more powerful than shields or weapons. It was protected by the knowledge that every species in the galaxy now understood. Humans were apex predators who had chosen to be civilized. The New Eden Memorial continued its eternal broadcast, reminding the galaxy of what happened when that choice was taken away. And in the former Korthak space, billions of aliens lived under human protection, serving as a permanent demonstration of human power and mercy. Ambassador Santos received a message from the Galactic Federation's diplomatic corps. They wanted to establish a new protocol for dealing with humanity. Instead of the standard diplomatic procedures used with normal civilizations, they would use the protocols reserved for galactic superpowers. "Congratulations, Ambassador," the message read. "Humanity has achieved what most species take millennia to accomplish. You are now recognized as one of the dominant forces in known space." Santos smiled as she read the message. It had taken 200 years of careful, peaceful expansion and the destruction of a single alien empire, but humanity had finally taken its rightful place among the stars. The galaxy had learned a simple truth. Humans desired peace, but they were fully capable of war, and when they chose war, nothing survived. As Admiral Chen often said in her speeches at the Naval Academy, "Our enemies learned too late that our peaceful nature was a gift we chose to give the galaxy. When they refused that gift, they discovered what we really are." The message had been received, understood, and would be remembered for as long as humans traveled among the stars. New Eden was gone, but its sacrifice had purchased something invaluable: a galaxy where no human colony would ever be threatened again. The memorial station continued its broadcast, the names of the dead echoing across space forever, ensuring that their memory would never fade and their sacrifice would never be forgotten.